my chat message ready? Welcome. Welcome. Welcome to the Dungeon of Drax. That used to be a mod file. An Amiga module. Music from the... Computer music from the 80s. Alright. Are we on YouTube? No. Are we on Twitch? Yes. Are we on YouTube? Yes. Does the chat message go through? Looks like it. Yes. Welcome to the Code Hangout number 254. Where today I'm gonna go, look into storage management. And the reason for that is because there are some issues with the system. So I just saved and freed up some space on my remote thing. So unfortunately, I don't have that available for testing. Although it also downloads the progress as a zip file, but I can't restore the progress yet. So maybe that's the first thing we'll do. We'll find a way of importing all the progress, because right now what happens is basically when you run out of storage, it offers you to download your replays, and it's the same. It does the same thing as this button, right? I think this button, yeah. So what it does is it basically takes all your local storage keys from in here, all of these, turns the key into a file name with a .progress extension, and the content of the key goes in the file. So for example, progress_.progress looks like this, right? So that would be this key, and that's just this data, right? And then it basically turns all of these files into what is effectively an uncompressed zip file, right? So it uses the zip file basically like a tar file. So in other words, yeah, and you see, then I freed up space, and that's why this file is smaller. But basically what happens is, if I look at this in 7zip, right, it doesn't compress the files. And the reason for that is that the code I'm using to do this is super tiny. So let us look, let's look first at the code that does this. Is that in utilities? Possibly. It should be. If it's not, maybe it should be. Let's see. Zip archive, yeah. So this is the entirety of it. Sublime merge. No. That should be installed, but okay. So basically, this is the entirety of JavaScript required to take K, which is... Let's just have a look what how this is used exactly. Yeah, so let us look at it here. Let's make sure these are all in the right places. Yeah. Yeah, back to front here. So zip archive, right? Progress data. So it takes an array, and the array contains... Yes, okay, here we go. So it contains objects with a name and a data key, and it basically turns these into files with the name and the content data, and then returns binary zip data. So I'm guessing it returns a array of some kind. Let's try it out. So localhost, let's just create a little bit of like a piece of test code here. So we want to do a little bit of a testy test here. I don't think it's even async. Probably not, right? Super good. Hey Keith, how you doing? No worries, no worries. So zip archive an array. Let's put in 2 items. Name file a.txt data file a content, and then we'll make a file B and file B content. And I just want to see let zip equals, and then we'll just say console.log zip, right? So we just want to see what this is. I think it'll be an array. It'll create a blob of application zip. So we should be able to say blob.text. So zip.text. We do this. What does that generate? It's a promise. All right. I don't know why that is promisified, but okay. So it generates this, which I presume is a binary zip file. Okay, let's see how simple we can make this. So const zip content, right? Let's just call this our little test data bit. And then we'll have a second one with just the simplest piece of data. And we'll also make this a let, so we can change it. And now we'll make it even simpler. We'll call this the name, we call it capital N. Yes, capital N. And the data, we'll call it capital D. And then there's nothing else, just these two. And what does that look like? So ND, I'm guessing this is it. We had the file and the content right after it. File, content right after it. And then we had some sort of PK, preamble, FT, blah, blah, blah. All right, zip format validator. Do we have some online validator? Okay, no, that's runtime validation of zip files with error reporting. No, that's something. Get free online zip validation tool. So provide paste zip base64 zip data here. Okay. Blob to base64. Is there some thingamajig? Blob to base64. Let's see if we already have that here. I would not be surprised. Base64. Blob to... Nope. To base64. Compress to base64. No. Ooh, okay, that's the... Okay, no. All right, let's just add that in for now. So if I have this function, which returns this, I'm just gonna do this equals async blob 2, and then it just returns a new promise. Boom. 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 Creates a file reader. Read on load function. Read on error reject. On load end. Reader dot read as data URL blob. Read as data on error reject. So if I call this on error and then resolve on load end, we'll do a resolve, sure. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Don't need that. All right. All right. So if I do this, and then I'll do await this, that should do the trick, right? Failed to execute read as data URL on file reader. Parameter 1 is not of type blob. Okay, it shouldn't be the text version of it. Boom. Okay, so that's the base64 version. So if I put that into this zip validator, validation result valid, signature load 4 bytes, blah blah blah, local zip header detected, yes, entries n, name n, and the data content of n. Okay, so I guess it doesn't say. So if we go back to our quote unquote complex data, Right, and then we put that in here. Two entries, okay. All right. Parsed by JS zip, yes. EOCD records detect. Okay, so it does the thing. Okay, all right. And wasn't really important. Just to get my head around it. Okay, so. And this is the function that basically loops through the local storage and does all that. Okay, so the reason I'm even even bothering with this is basically how can I easily import? And I think can I JavaScript zip decompression? Like there's probably because I know there is a native gzip. You know what? Let's can we ask Claude? I don't know if I can ask Claude because I have an account, but I've never actually used it, and I don't know if they just have an online AI that I can just talk to. And I don't have a paid account. Let's see if it can give me the reverse of this piece of code. Blah blah blah. Where is it? Zip archive. Okay. I have the following JavaScript code that takes an array of name data objects and creates a valid zip archive with files for each item by name with content data. These are not compressed. I need it outputs a blob object. I need the reverse code that takes such a zip archive blob and returns an array of name data objects. This does not need to handle compression at all. Simply decode the data of the uncompressed data contained in the zip blob. It should be as short as possible. If you can find this code line and find an existing reverse function, well, that's even better. This is the zip compression code. Compression. I'm curious because that's the sort of thing that something like Claude Code should be very good at. Okay. So it reads each local file header, signature, blah blah blah, extracts the file name length, extra field length and data size, and slices the raw bytes. No decompression needed. Returns the same name data, shares zip produces. Okay. Okay. But you know, this works. Kudos to AI. That's the sort of thing that AI might be useful for. All right. So let's see if I stick this in here. So we have a unzip archive. Can I convert tabs to list of tabs? Sure. And then I should be able to, it's async. All right. Well, let's just do this and see what happens. We're getting an object. Ooh, the data comes back as an uint array. Okay, that is interesting. It's very close. The data elements are uint arrays, but the incoming data is always strings. Can you decode them as strings? Element Unicode. Okay. I mean, I can probably just convert them. Decode as a string. Okay. Data line. Boom. So if I replace this and then rerun this, I mean, it's not very compact, but I'd probably prefer to do that myself. Cool. Cool. Okay, so because now we could use this to actually re-import a full data set. I'm going to apply my own... I'm going to minify this code by hand because I actually, frankly, enjoy doing that. So we're just going to make a single const here. Actually, you know what? Let's run it through a standard minify first, because why is it doing this? Why is it not just half on the screen? Like this should be half screen, and then this should be half screen, like that. All right. So let's look at. I have a little optimized converters, JavaScript minifier. Let's put this in here. Minify. How small? Okay. How small can this be minified? And are there any changes we should do to maximize the potential for minification? I mean, it's already, that minified version is already pretty small. Okay, now the question is 22 characters. A few structure changes help minification. Hoist already done. 1T used twice saves chars. Blah blah blah. Inline that slice element differently. Passing to element array. D is usually longer than just calling. T decode use slice twice directly. Everything health saves 10 chars. 10 chars. 210. 194. Okay, so if I do this, and I'm gonna move this out for a sec. Put that here. And if I compare this to this, I'm guessing this is actually quite a bit bigger, isn't it? So if I do this, oh, not quite a bit bigger. Only a few characters bigger. Interesting. All right. Let us make sure it still does what it's supposed to do. Okay. Let us test it on the full data set, right? So the data set that we are using, zip archive, is here. Progress data. I wish I had this as a function, but you know what? We probably want to have that function in here. So let's make a little function here. We'll call it const get progress data. I don't think this needs to be I think we can just do this, right? Then we just return it. Return. We can just do this. And you have unzip archive. Put that here. I don't think this uses anything else, right? Doesn't look like it. All right. So then we can just say let zip content equals get progress data. And then we can just say zip content, and let's not do this for a sec. So if I do this, right, it'll be big. 468 items, right? And then each item should be this stuff. Wait, what? Oh no, it is encoded. Wait a second, text encoder. Oh no. Oh. Interesting. Okay. Ah. Whoops. Whoa. I was wrong. The input can be either plain string or I guess we won't be able to determine which, but probably want to decode to support binary files, such as etc. Yeah, I guess Alright, so let's compare that. So we have the unzip archive to text. Ah, it's even smaller. Alright. So now what I want to do is we want to encode this, or zip it up, unzip it, and compare, right? So we'll have the zip content. We have let unzip equals this. All right, and then we can say console.log zip equals unzip, and then we'll just do json.stringify zip equals json stringify unzip, like this. Sorry if I'm not exactly burping, but I've drank water, now I've got air trapped somehow. All right, false. All right. Let's have a look. What does unzip look like? And zip, like if I just look at the first one, for example. Header offset. Wait, what? Is that something that the zip function manipulates? Like if I do this, right, I'm guessing those don't exist. So the zip function actually messes with that data. Yeah, okay. We need to do a const zip pre-string equals oh wait, I'm an idiot. Well, this is wrong. This is wrong in other ways as well. So we want to do this, right? Then we'll zip it, which manipulates the zip content. The zip content. I guess it's just a way of letting it generate a shorter function by it storing some sort of temporary thing in these objects. So let's see. If I go to k length, k for each. Yeah, it's doing something. It's just reusing this. Okay. Just need to know. So I accept this to be messy. We can actually ask for a better version, maybe. Let's see. So unzip await. Okay, so we have the unzip. Then we'll say const unzip string. We'll do json dot stringify unzip, and now we'll do this, and we'll just compare pre-string. We'll just call it the post string, and this could be the pre-string. Right. If I do this, it is true. Okay. So let's see. The original zip archive seems to manipulate the past. Modify the past array to store temporary data. Can you improve on this and perhaps minify it further? He said his function was like 195 characters and was the same length. But this seems a lot longer than 195. This is like 1,000. This is much simpler. Here's the originality. It adds header offset CDR properties directly onto the input object, which is a side effect that could corrupt caller data. Here's a clean version. No mutation, blah blah blah. Never written to input object. Let const throughout. CDR's array collects central next text arguments is ignored anyways. There's marginally shorted the RC table and the set pattern are the main barriers to further minification. They're already fairly tight. One small game would be inlining O0 already there and dropping the UTF arc down. Beyond that, the logic is irreducible. If you were to create something like this from scratch, would you use the same method? Let's ask Claude about the code. No, the main things I do differently is compression streams API instead. Deflate raw, which is exactly what Zip uses. This eliminates the manual CRC table. Bitrunning the custom headers written. Writing the browser handles it. The trade of it becomes async, but unzip archive already is. For anything production facing, I just use fflate. It's 15 kilobytes minified. Handles compression, streaming, corruption, edge cases, and is faster than handroll.js. Reinventing zip parsing is a classic source of subtle bugs. Current code doesn't handle the data descriptor flag. Zip field extra field variations. If keeping a hand would it be simpler to use something like tar instead? Code strings except strings. Still, here's the architecture. The third units were clever but obscure. Excuse me. Indexes, writes are just as short. After machine much more. This text is probably pretty small for you guys. Sorry about that. I forget sometimes that I'm on double the resolution. The original code looks like it was written to be as small as possible from the start, since it was for true, etc., rather than writing clean and then minified. It's the wrong word. Write it readably. If I like Terse to do the rest, you'll end up with a similar size but with maintainable source. Significantly, tar is much simpler than zip. Zip complexity sources, CRC checksum, the whole lookup table. It's directly written twice, local header, central directory records at the end, 2+ structure, yada yada yada. 512 header block per file. 512 bytes is a lot. Field data padded to 500. Oh, but per tar file, okay. Unified tar, minimal tar implementations, maybe 1/3 the code. Here's roughly what it looks like. Okay, and the reverse is equal simple, just read. As of tar, no native browser supports. Zip files can be opened by the OS. Tar usually can't on Windows. No, okay. Isn't their native browser support for gzip? Let's double check that, because if I search for gzip, I'm pretty sure I'm using it somewhere. Paco feature profile. Paco. It's Paco. Did I? Oh no, okay, I'm loading that in. I hope I'm not always loading that in. I'm pretty sure I did this somewhere. No, but that's on the server side. Ooh, wait, why is it? Oh. Oh no, I want to find it here. gzip. If I search for gzip here, I thought I had used gzip somewhere in the browser somewhere. Support in all modern browsers, so you could do tar gzip, tar structure gzip compression, and both halves are simple. Pack, unpress, convert tar archive, decompress, blob, simpler code than zip, no CRC32, no. Actual compression, unlike your current zip, which stores uncompressed. Native browser supports both steps. Standard for is archive browser native? No, it's not. Should have been clear. The browser is not native Java. Can gzip already handle multiple files? I guess not. Why multi-part model? You could just serialize the array to JSON, gzip that, and be done. Oh. I didn't even think of that, yeah. Or the simplest part of the archive is internal to your app. No form of spec to implement full native browser. So we could literally just take the items, compress them. What's the browser support like? Does it work on mobile systems? Yeah, because I kind of need this to work on phones, I suppose. Support excellent, global usage is okay. Can use Firefox so since 2023. That seems fairly recent. Ooh. Like, yeah, that's fine. Okay. The source data is basically key/value text from local storage. So we don't really need to worry about binary. I guess we could just replace the whole thing, hey? All right. I'd like to try that actually. So we have the get progress data. We'll have pack and unpack. Right. Then if I replace this with pack, we'll just await pack. That's fine. Then we'll await unpack. And now if I do this, pre-string was true. And if I say console.log zip, what does the zip come out as? It's a blob of size. Okay, and if I output zip archive, just to compare how big, and this is in case people don't know what I'm talking about. This is basically how SudokuPad stores your local files, and currently when your storage fills up, it tries to detect that, and it gives you the option to download stuff and then free up some space. But for example, for my local system, because I test a lot of puzzles, it fills up very quickly and it doesn't free up a lot of space. And then I've had people report issues where they couldn't, it somehow didn't detect that this, so it didn't automatically detect that space needed freeing. So it, sorry, I was just reading this. I need to give a button basically where they can force free, and maybe have a button where they can free more space than what it currently does by default. Currently, the zip blob is 1.2 megabytes, and the gzip blob is this much. What about pre-string? I'm hearing birds. Is that from outside or from... I'm guessing there's birds tweeting outside. Twitting. So, pre-string.length is the uncompressed size, right? So the pre-string is... Wait. 1, 2, 3. 11 megabytes? 11? That seems like a lot. That's weird. This comes down to 4.7 megabytes, but then this says 1.2. What does pre-string itself look like? Oh. Oh, okay, that's problematic. What if we don't encode it? So what if instead of having this encoded... Okay, so let's do this, this, and then instead of the encoded version, we just put the plain version in here. And what does that look like? So now it looks like this. Yeah, okay, so the keys are gzip compressed, whatever. All right, 1.2 megabytes. Slightly bigger, as expected. And 800K. All right, so not quite half. But the decompressed version is the same. Okay, so now the pack ends up with... all right, so let's double check that. So... boop. So the old version had a type of on the blob, which I could directly download into a zip file, into a valid zip file. How can I download this data into a valid gzip file that I can decompress easily? Just set the MIME type to the output blob and trigger a download application gzip. Yeah, I don't want to do this directly. 1 second, let me show it how this works. Zip archive. Should replace it. All right. So the current code looks like this, like the below, and I need something that's compatible, not a direct download from the pack function. I feel like Claude, it's sounds, I don't know, it sounds more competent than ChatGPT or Gemini working on the same thing. Just change the extension, the MIME type of the blob pack stays as is, just make sure it sets the type. Boom, boom, boom. So currently the pack function does this, creates a stream, new blob, pipe through, and it just adds the type. Okay. I think after the array brace, array buffer, blah, blah, blah. Boom. Boom. Okay, packer is zip archive, unpacker is unzip archive. So this is... So if I run this, I should be able to turn this into a gz file afterwards. All right, let's try it out. We have... This is a thingamajig here. Right, and we'll do something like this. If I run that, it should download a file And I should be able to double-click that file, double-click that file, and get this. Okay, so there's a lot of multi-escaping. Because these are all, yeah. But it should mean I should be able to import, export, yada yada. Now, don't verts X of instead of tweet now. Oh geez. The kids would say you need to touch some grass. Okay, but one of the issues is we actually need to import the pre-existing data file, which is in the old format. Now the question is, why is, ciao guys, why is this 4 megabytes? Is it like if I double click these, why are these 4 megabytes? Why are these 4 megabytes? I'm thinking right now, does the data get that much bigger just because of the way it gets split into individual files? Or did I lose a whole bunch of data because it obviously freed up some data? So it could also be that the freeing up of the data caused the current data to be much smaller. Which is really annoying because I obviously want to... Although, no, this was... Wait. So, one second. Zip archive. We have the pre-string, right? We have zip archive. Is it because it gets passed in as encoded data? But that doesn't make sense because the output here, like if I open the zip file and double click one of these, I get this back as text. Because before the JavaScript was the JSON was like 12 megabytes or something because it was JSONifying an array of ints rather than an actual JavaScript Unicode string. Okay, for now, we do have unzip archive, and we do have an upload tool or an upload mechanism, which is... So if I go under import export, we have replay save load. Drop file to replay save load. Okay, so replay save load. Handle dot. Okay, let's see where the window drop. Handle load from file. This dot load payload. Payload. Puzzle framework. Inload payload. Blah blah blah. Okay, yeah. So let's hijack this mechanism here for a second. Right. Then we'll just say put that in here. And just see how this gets triggered, right? So I should be able to just, oops, I should be able to open settings, replay save load, and say drop the zip file on there. And then this one is from yesterday. It's even bigger. And then it's smaller again. That's so weird. Okay, there's something weird going on. Possibly not corrupted. Okay, but is it error and handle from file? Handle from... Okay, I'm looking at the wrong one here. This is the production file. I have to be very careful. I don't know why it was searching in production rather than beta. So let's make sure we're looking at the right one. So we have replay save. Handle drop. Okay. Because I have to be careful that because I don't know how good my Ooh, what's going on? What's going on? Uh-oh. Why? All right. I also have still the unfinished code from last week's stream in here, so I might have to clean that up before we go too much further. But now at least we should be able to just drag this zip file on here, and it'll get. This is the information it gets from the drop handler. Xzip compressed. Okay. Okay. So if I put in unzip archive in here. And I'll make a little function, function async function import file. All right, we have unzip archive in here. So we're gonna do import file here, and then here we're just gonna say, we should be able to just say import file, boom, wait, import file, like that. All right, so if I do this, and now say replay save load, drag in today's zip file, we get import file, we get this, and now if we run this through unzip archive, so let unzip equals await unzip archive data. Now this should be an array of named data objects. So do that again, and we have. So I want to get this right. This is the one from earlier today. This is from yesterday, and it's so much bigger. Let's have a look at this one. Yeah, it gets that because we're not. Ah, no, wait, what? P.array buffer 612 6 112 unzip archive. B.array buffer is not a function. Oh, shoot. Wait a second. So the file object has what? I need to get the blob out of that file object. Current. How do I get the blob for unzip archive out of a drag and drop operation? I currently have something like which doesn't get me the blob the function expects. Let's see. I misspelled a billion words. Let's see how for Dragon is already a blob. File extends blob, so you can't pass it directly. Unpack file. Okay. So I guess we'll literally just pass file in here and see what happens, right? So replay, save, load. Bring in this big one. And we get this. Okay, so we saved. Oh wait, is this bigger because I was saving? I gotta be careful. Let us save right now. Download all replays, right? So we should get a new file up here. And then we'll underscore local host underscore 9012. Underscore. Right. Then we go here. I'm gonna refresh. So that's why it's smaller, because localhost isn't that big, right? So now we're gonna do download all replays, and this is gonna be underscore Sudoku pad app. Right. So that's 4.725. So that's the same that we have here. And then this is before erasing it. Okay. All right. So we have a backup of localhost, which is, and that's why it was smaller, because I was looking at localhost, right? So for example, so the remote one is 900 entries. Localhost is like 400 entries. Okay. So now the question is, to restore that data, I'll just assign them, I suppose. And I'm thinking I can skip existing keys, right? Because like, I don't really need to override stuff. So, so let's try this. For let I equals I smaller than 3 I plus plus, right? And then we'll just say const name data, or let name data equals or const name data equals unzip I, right? So that gets us these. So now the key from local storage should be, oh yeah, and it's just progress stuff. So it doesn't actually include settings and such. All right. So it should be where was it? It should be this minus the dot progress. Right. So we'll say let key equals name dot replace dot progress with nothing. And then we can do key, right? And then let val equals, and then we need to decode that wait, I feel like we had this conversation earlier. So t.decode. We had two versions, didn't we? One. Okay. How do I turn the uint arrays from zip? What was it called? From unzip archive back into strings. Okay. So we should be able to just do this and put the data in here. And then we can just say val here. And this should get us the first 3 data items and not actually replace anything. So if I do replace save load, I drag in this backup, the large one, and I could even try the one from yesterday. And then it'll get me something like this. Yeah, it repeats puzzle ID, that's fine. But if I put that in here like that, that should be correct. All right. So we want to do else equals local storage. Well, we probably don't need to shorten it that drastically, but we can probably just say local storage dot set item key val, right? Let's just try it with 3, and if it works with 3, we'll do it with all of them. We have a backup, so it should be safe, and it's just my local storage. If I mess that up, not a huge deal. All right, we'll do this. Okay. I guess now we will do it with unzip.length. So if I do this, it should load in the 4.9 megabytes of data from this backup. Boom. We get an array. Exceeded the quota. Okay, so it stopped because it ran out of quota. So if I do local storage dot length dot count, no, length 1292. Okay, if I do that over here, local storage dot length 875. Okay, so the reason for that is that there isn't that much overlap between the puzzles in my local storage and the ones played online. Okay, fair enough. So now if I refresh this, we got our test scenario. Okay, great. So now we can go to the next step. This is temporary, so I'm gonna do this for now. This is just for this one of restore, but we might actually add that as another feature down the line. Okay, so now I want to test out this algorithm and investigate a little bit further. So the algorithm that does this, I know it uses the word quota. Quota. Test local storage quota. Ensure local storage quota. So this is happening in script, not... Okay, so this, we might want to move these into utilities or something. Okay, so basically what this does, and I'll probably want to pull it out. Wait a second. Test local storage quota. Where's that function? So, okay, test local storage quota is in here. Find local storage space. Test local storage quota, check space. Find local storage space. What does that do? Find check space. Min. Oh, it's trying to find how much there's available, right? So if I do this, 397, and if I do it here, 399317. What are these? Oh, because it triggers analytics event, but why so many? No, I don't want to drag, I don't want to draw har files. Yeah, that was weird. So if I, one second, if I execute this, it's trying to hit plausible so many times? Tesla's message, track error. So this gets triggered from line 63. Ooh, no. Why would it hit so many times? I'm trying to think. So, oh, because yes. Okay, so Okay, so test local storage quota. What does it do? Given a size, it takes the size, divides it by the length of a 100-character string. Yeah, basically what it does is it's trying to allocate a string of a certain length. And if it fails, it throws an error. If it succeeds, it removes the string again. And it returns if it succeeded or failed, basically. Okay, no. It basically says true or false if we can allocate a string of a certain size. If it fails, it triggers a remote error in the analytics system. Now, this algorithm, which thankfully isn't being run, but it basically says, let's go for 10 to the power of 6. So 10 to the power of 6 is 1 megabyte. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. No, it's 10 megabytes. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 10 megabytes. So it says, it basically says, it does a binary search and it says, let's allocate half of the amount. If it succeeds, allocate half again of the second half, i.e. a quarter, and so on and so forth, right? If it fails, okay, this is really silly. But basically it's trying to do a binary search, right? So it's saying, okay, take the whole thing. Let's allocate 5, like, let's see if we can allocate 10 megabytes, right? So to do that, first we try to allocate 5 megabytes. If we succeed, now let's allocate 7.5 megabytes. If we fail, let's allocate 2.5 megabytes, right? And then it just keeps repeating that, does a binary search. So basically, the 30 iterations or something max to get to it. I don't know if that really... I was just thinking, wouldn't be better off doing a fixed amount? But I guess no, not really, because that's the whole freaking point of binary search algorithm, that it is efficient for this sort of thing. The problem is that every failure triggers a remote event. Now, on my local system, it doesn't get triggered. But when I do it on sudoku.app, it actually triggers a whole bunch of these events, right? Which I don't actually want. It's not really a problem because this is not used in production. But it's something I need to remember, that we need a way of not triggering it. Now, that all being said, test local storage quota gives us a test for a fixed amount of storage. And the way it is utilized in the ensure local quota is that it's basically saying, okay, make sure there's a minimum of 200 bytes available. So it basically says, if 200 bytes are available, we're good. If not, find enough items that they add up to that amount, right? How does it determine that there's enough? For ls length. Okay, so first what it does here, it's loading all the progress keys from local storage. That's the first step. It parses the item and pulls the time element out of it. And it calculates the size of the key and the type, because the key could be long, because the key includes the ID of the puzzles, right? Then it sorts them in reverse order by the date of the replay. So basically, newest to old, or oldest to new, or whatever. And then it basically, from the oldest onwards, finds enough puzzle to add up to minimum storage size. And once it reaches that, it knows by removing these puzzles, we free up 200,000 characters for storage. Right. Now I remember how the algorithm works. Now, the problem with that is it only frees up 200,000 bytes, which means that the moment I play enough puzzles, it will once again have to ask. So here it says, okay, 78 puzzles. So it empties out 78 puzzles from March to May 2024. And here's already the issue, is that it only deletes 78 puzzles out of 1,200. So that's less than 10%. So that's why it kind of keeps asking. One second, I'm gonna switch on some lights because it's getting dark around me and it feels weird. We want light here. We want light here. Why aren't these lights on? These lights should be on. I'm guessing Elgato Control Center crashed again. Which is what's my little... No, that's actually not it. Ooh. No. No. I quit Stream Deck. And restart Stream Deck. Sometimes Stream Deck for some reason loses its ability to talk to my Philips Hue and my Alexa and all that stuff. So when I press the button to set up the lights correctly, it doesn't do it. Yeah, so it should have switched on those lights earlier when I pressed the button, but I don't know why it's unstable. Anyway, so what I wanted to do, so there's two things I want to do. First of all, I want to be able to trigger, so we have a download all replays button, right? But we don't have a button of free space. So I think what I want to do is, so the download all replays, let's see if that is where that button comes from. So this is part of the replay save. Okay, so it's part of this one. So what I would like to do is actually move that button into replay save load. And add a way of... Or create a second dialog like this. So basically, I want to be able to download all replays and restore all replays. I mean, I guess I could accept either file, like a .replay or a gzip file, right? The replay file, is it... Because I think the replay file is not the same thing that's in the progress data, because I think the replay file actually contains the puzzle as well. I'm not sure. But I also want to have options for clearing space. So let's save a replay, right? Let's look at what this replay file looks like compared. So the replay file only is the raw replay data, not the whole progress key from local storage, right? So if I go to local storage, I look at one of these progress keys. It's a little bit of extra data. So it's got the replay, but it's got a timestamp and a puzzle ID, right? Now the replay itself contains the puzzle ID, so you don't really need that. And you don't really need the timestamp. Yeah, you don't need the timestamp if the replay is in isolation. Okay, so loading up multiple replays shouldn't actually be a big problem. So what we should be able to do here, right? We should be able to detect what kind of file gets dragged on here. So that dialog should already be able to handle both. So let's see. If I now drag on a zip file, boop, it dies. No, here we go. So we have this, and we can look at this. Now the question is, do I want to switch? No, I don't want to switch from zip right now. I think I'm gonna include the unzip. So the unzip archive here. So we have a zip archive here somewhere. zip archive, right? And then we'll have unzip archive, right? Like that. So zip archive is about a K, unzip archive is 356 bytes. Okay, not a big deal. We put that in here. Then we go here. Don't need that anymore. And we'll say if file.type is this, boom, console.log zip archive, boom, else we'll do this. Right. And then we'll say we'll say restore what do we call this currently? The download all replay, handle download replays. What do we call it? Progress. So let's call it restore progress backup. And we have the whole drag and drop stuff and file names. API. Why is this? Oh, this should be under API. One second. Clear drag and drop. Why are these under C? Clear drag and drop. Oh no, that's not under C. Okay. Get drop files. Is that even used? Yeah. So let's make this handle load from file. So we'll do drag drop, and then we can move this to here and this to here, and then we'll do a create payload, create replay file name, set puzzle location. Where is that being used? Set puzzle location. Path name. Oh, okay, it's updates to URL. Okay, so restore just puzzle data. This is just for handling the data. Create payload, create replay file name. I think create replay file name can go. Yeah, well, this can all go on here. No problem. No problem. We'll just do that. Right. And then we have restore progress. And here we have handle load from file. And we can just say this dot blah file. Right. And then we can do restore this. And we have this. And now here, oh, and we want to indent all of these. Handle, window, handle. One second, this is handle init, handle start, handle dialog solved. So we want these set up right, something like this. And then we'll have drag and drop dialog. Let's just put all the dialog stuff here. Boom, like that. A lot of drag and drop stuff I need to handle. I'm wondering if I can wrap, like, I'd like to wrap these into something generic that I can reuse elsewhere. There's like a lot of these, like, handle all sorts of circumstances of what happens during drag and drop and all that. I think we can get rid of that. And then we can say restore progress blah. And then we can just say const unzip. And then we just do this. Like, for this stream, I'd like to actually have something pragmatic that I can push as an update. Like, the Zoom stuff needs so much more work, so that's not really anywhere near. So, replay, save, load. if I now drag a zip file, it gets there and doesn't unzip. All right. How do I stop it from doing something weird? Like if the unzip... So I'm guessing all these progress... I'm a bit annoyed with myself because these aren't the same thing as the progress files. It would be cool if these were real progress files, because they're not quite. They're close, but not quite. Like, I don't know if... Part of me wants to fix it, but part of me also wants to keep this compatible with the existing stuff. So for now, I think I'm just going to implement it to work with the existing stuff, and then in the future we'll have like an upgrade and clean up updates kind of thing. So let's see. People are chatting in my Discord about something unrelated, and it's distracting me. So we basically got to do this. So there's a couple of questions I have in my mind is, do I want to notify the user if local data gets overwritten, or do I simply not want to overwrite local data? Or do I want to have like a complex dialogue where they can check which ones get overwritten, which ones don't? Or do I want to say, okay, X, Y puzzles match locally? Like we can skip the ones that are the same anyways. All right, we definitely need to go through them. So let's go through them. We'll have the value, key value, and then we do this, and then let's say let stored val equals local storage get item key. Right, so let existing let identical equals 0, changed equals 0, new equals 0. Additional. So identical, changed, and additional. So now we can say if val equals stored val. Actually, let's have a look. What does local storage return if an item doesn't exist? So if I say local storage dot get item null. Okay, so if stored val equals null, we'll do additional plus plus, and then else if val equals stored val, we'll say identical plus plus, and then else if val else if. So if stored val is null, it means it doesn't exist. It's the same, otherwise it must be changed, right? So otherwise changed plus plus. And then at the end, we'll output those. We'll just say identical changed additional. All right. Identical changed additional. All right. So if I do this and I say, I don't know what I click to do that. If I say replay save load and then we load in the 4.9 megabyte one, this one. So identical 744, changed 6, additional 134. Now that's a bit strange because we already imported them. Is there some reason? Because the import stopped because it was running out of space. Is there some reason why we couldn't have as many? As online as here? Local storage. No, they should be the same. 8745 1282. Oh, because this doesn't tell us about the ones that exist here and not on the imported file. Okay. If I go... I'm tempted to... I should wipe first. Because this is kind of the problem, right? The other option is like, do we want to... Because if the user has some puzzle of their own and they want to bring in a full state, they need to delete their local storage first. Okay, if we add later on to the dialog options for letting users manage their storage and, for example, completely wiping it, then that becomes a moot point. So let's look into that as well. So right now the dialog has these buttons: replay, save, load, save, load. If I want to add additional options here, handle dialog, open dialog, save file, load file, cancel. When we do options like this, if I want them, because I might want to arrange these buttons into sort of groups. We basically want to have save file and load file next to each other. And I've done this elsewhere, and I'm just trying to think, how can I find where I've done this so I don't have to start from scratch? Like, content skip, class skip button, submit button, options. Can I just open random dialogues? Screenshot. Yeah, for example, screenshot has a more strict arrangement of buttons. How does it do it? We have options, inner HTML, content, screenshot log, screenshot dialog. So screenshot dialog, dialog buttons, flex row, screenshot dialog, dialog options button, min width auto. So maybe if I can just bring these open, over. Dialog. So screenshot is probably a more sophisticated dialog. So we have dialog class. All right. So first of all, let's find where our styling is. Replay file drop. We'll do this. Replay. Dialog class. Replay data dialog. Right. So now we have a replay data dialog. And we want the buttons arranged in a certain way. I might want to have more control over it though, but that's not terrible. That's not terrible. So now I feel I have space to add more buttons. So we have the cancel button, but we want to, because I feel like free space might actually need its own dialogue where you can choose how much space to free, right? And it might be a simple dialogue with just a bunch of buttons, right? But it also gives me an opportunity to do some... So let's see, if I say free space, where does that button go? Does that go here? All right, and if I press it, nothing happens because right now our handle dialog button doesn't know how to handle free space. Okay. Save file, load from file, this handle. Return load from file. Load from file. Where's this load from file function? Is there a separate load from file function? Here we go. Handle file, options. What does this do? Handle file options. Load from file. Input file visibly hidden. Handle file. Handle change. Add event listener change. Handle change. What the heck? It creates a button, a hidden button. It clicks the button. When the button is changed, it does this. And then... Huh? How the... Oh, I'm an idiot, of course. It opens the file dialog. Geez, okay, alright, alright. Oh, so I wrapped that. So I could just execute it as a function instead of... Man, this is... Okay. Alright, so that's just the load file dialog button. Alright, fair enough, fair enough. I confused myself. What's happening to the music? Alright. Starting to get tired. Sorry, guys. So, load from file. Yeah. Okay. All right. And handle load from file works either with a drop file or with that. Okay. So free space, which should be another dialog. So we call this replay dialog, and then we have a free space dialog. And I'm guessing. Oh, geez. We'll do this for a sec. We don't do drag and drop in this one. Handle free dialog. Event handle target tag name was a prevent default. I don't remember why I'm doing that here. Okay, we definitely don't want to do this. Don't want to do this. We don't want to do any of that. Free space. And for now, I'm just going to make this empty. Otherwise, and then we'll just have a console button. Replay data. Free space. Yeah, let's do this for a sec. If I do this, and then I can do... Where's the other dialog? Handle open dialog. Where's that getting run? Here. Handle open dialog. Okay. Then you can do handle... I'll close this for a second. Handle free dialog. Free space. So button equals free space, and then return this dot handle free dialog. So if I do this, and then I say free space, and we get this dialog. So then the free space dialog would basically do a bunch of work, and I don't have the mental capacity to finish this today. But basically what it'll do is it'll do a little bit of math here. It'll figure out how much data we have. It'll do a little bit something similar to... Where's that function now? The function where it was calculating how much it needs to free. I believe this was under script. This function. So it'll do a little bit of that. So if I take this... Wait, old data. So if I take this... I'm not 100% clear in my mind right now what I actually need to do. So, because I don't know what options to give to the user. Like, my brain wants to think a slider, but that doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, I want to have sort of high-level controls. I want to say delete all data, like maybe 4 or 5 max buttons, and there'll be things like free some space, which is like free to, you know, like the delete 10 puzzles, delete everything except the last 3 months or whatever, and then finally delete everything, right? But to give these options, I want to kind of run through this process here. I don't know why that's not a constant. I want to run through this process here. I don't want to do this. Yeah, I don't know what error I was expecting here. And then at the end here, we're gonna say console.log total size, min start size, total size. Total size. We'll just want to calculate the entire total size here. But we also want to do something like, oops, we want to output progress data dot length like this, total size, and then we'll want to do something like progress data 0 dot date and dot length -1 date. So we're gonna be, I don't know which way it's sorted, earliest and latest. I'm guessing. It could be wrong. So if I do this, right? We'll go here, do this, free space. So we have 1,200 items. We have a total of around 5 megabytes of data, which is interesting because I thought the limit would be 5 megabytes. So the fact that it's more than 5 megabytes before it hit that limit is interesting. It's kind of curious. And the earliest is March 2024, and the latest itch is blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, if I say, I mean, freeing half, you know, I guess, I don't know. So we want to output some information here. So we want to have something like content, whoops, we want to do something like, we want to do something like, so we say something like this, boom, boom, replace for total size, and we're just gonna go total size divided by 1000 KIB, I guess. So we'll do something like that. And it should just say, so we're gonna say something like found that may replace using git of space, something like that. We'll just do math.round. Math.ceiling, to be honest. We want to round up using blah 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 of space. And then we can say erase, I don't know, maybe 10% of oldest. So if we say 10% of oldest puzzles, 10% by space or 10% by number of puzzles? Or by date. So we have 3 dimensions we can look at, right? Maybe we can say everything older than 3 months. So we could say so we can say new date. So if I just say or date.now, right? If I say date.now minus 30 times 24 times 3600, and then say new date with that number in it, I get May 17th. And if I multiply it by another 1000 for milliseconds, I get April 17th. So around a month ago. Okay. So let's say const cutoff date equals boom. We'll just say const msn day equals, so that's milliseconds in a day times msn day. And each of those are dates, so I should be able to directly compare them. 1 second. So, and then now I'm thinking maybe the user needs to determine the cutoff date or something, whatever. But here we can say total size, free cutoff size. We want to find a cutoff date as well. So we want to say, do I want to have a function find? So we're going to do const find pre-date, and it's going to get a date, right? And what that'll really do, is do this, and then say if oh my god, var. I feel like I haven't used var in a long time. If progress data I, or if I just do for const pd of progress data, right? And then if I say but then we don't get the index, right? Unless we do an index off. So we're going from earliest. So we want to say if pd.date is greater than cutoff date, break, and we can say console.log pd.date, and we can say progress data index of pd, and that should get us an item that's just in front of the progress, in front of the the whole thing is up. Oh no. Oh no. Index of PD. I'm missing a brace in line 99. What the? No, that's not right. What are you talking about? Math.ceiling. 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 2 braces over here. Now, this thing doesn't have an enable disabled thing, should just be back. Yes. Okay. So now if I go to free space, we should yeah, okay. I didn't execute the function. So no, we do not have output from that function. But we should be able to do this. Alright, so find predate And then we'll search for the cutoff date. And we also want to do cutoff date here. Like that. All right. Free space. So, find predate undefined. Cutoff date is April 19th. Ah, no. Here we go. Here we go. So this is the first game I played before this. Index 11109. And then we'll say, okay, so we'll say const idx equals blah, blah, blah. IDX. And we should be also able to do IDX minus 1. If IDX is larger than 0, but we know it's larger than 0. So if I do this and this, the one before is date April 17th. But it is ahead of the so the last one before the cutoff date is that. Okay. Because we're looking for one that's greater than the cutoff date. So the one before that is smaller than the cutoff date. Okay. All right. And this should be... Because if IDX is 0, it just means we don't have any before the cutoff date. Okay. Okay. All right, what are we going to do with this information? So, we can now calculate how many there are before. So, we'll just return this. Return this. If blah blah blah, index is that. If IDX is 0, throw new error. Oh no, just return. No. Right. So this will either return null or the last item before the cutoff date. So it returns this item, which is the last item before the cutoff date at 1600 hours. And the cutoff date is 2000 hours. Okay. And now we can say, okay, find everything before that item, for example, right? So we can say, for let I equals 0, progress data dot length, no. Progress data dot index of let last old equals boom. So last old item is this. Index last old is that, right? And then I'm just trying to think, is it worthwhile making a function right now to calc size and range? So basically saying something like calc size in range, and then we'll just say start, end, and then we'll just do for let I equals 0, I smaller, I equals start, I smaller than end, I plus plus, const size, let size equals 0, and then size blah blah blah. So size plus equals progress data I dot size. return size. Right. Then we can say calc size and range from 0 to this. And that should get us whatever, right? Whatever we need. So calc size and range. So this says that everything up to that cutoff date takes up 4.68 blah 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 in space. Yeah, so that makes sense. So we can have a button and say, okay, free X amount, right? So we can have a button that says, we can have something like keep last 30 days, comma free that kind of thing, right? Const cut off size equals this. Right, and then we can say free cutoff size kib, and then we'll have a little function. We're just gonna call format kib bytes. And it's just this, basically. I'm gonna just say this format kib total size, and we don't have that. And here we can say format kib like that. So now we should have a button there, and how I'm gonna manage those buttons, I'm not gonna think about right now because my brain is broken. And we broke something again. So I pasted that in there, and I put broken. Because I'm missing a comma. So free space, keep last. Okay, so in this case we probably free space dialog. We probably want the buttons individually if I'm going to put endlessly long texts on them. Keep last 30 days free, blah. Yeah, that makes sense, right? And we could also do calc size and range, find pre-date, cutoff date, and cutoff size. So we could have a couple of like because I'm thinking, okay, does it make sense to have just like an array and say, okay, we want to do 30 days, 12 months, yada yada, right? Or because the current mechanism, what it does, it just frees 200 kilobytes. That's it. And 200 kilobytes isn't going to last super long, right? So the other option would be to empty half the replays, for example. Well, maybe we don't want to do that much, right? Maybe we'll do 30 days, and so we kind of have so what do we need? So we'll say, okay, const cutoff dates, because we basically want not just like we have the numeric number, but like what do we call it, right? So we'll have something like label 30 days comma, date, or date is this, right? And then we'll do label, last 30 days is the label. Then we have last 12 months. Oops. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? I'm in the wrong file. I'm in the wrong part of the editor. We'll have last 12 months, 365 in days, right? And then we'll say for const cutoff dates, right? We'll just output this console.log cutoff. Again, I don't know why I'm so tired suddenly. I'm working with very limited brain power right now. But basically we need to do these things for this date. So we'll do last old cutoff dot date, and then cutoff size is find predate this. Actually, let's do this. Last old progress index. So idx equals boom. So we have idx, right? And we want to do cutoff dot count equals basically idx. So if idx is 1, this goes from 0, like it'll be 1, right? And then the size is this. Like, we'll do that. And then we'll do that. Skip the button for now. So if I do this, and then I'll do this, and this, what do we get? We get last 30 days, last 12 months. Last 30 days would be this size, and last 12 months would be this size. But it's the same date. Wait, what? Last 12 months. Count, date. How is the date the same? Am I using cutoff date here? Let's put that in here. So it's not sitting around up here. Why are these the same date? Oh, no, wait. That's May 17th, April 17th. That doesn't make any sense. Minus 365 in days. Oh, yeah, sorry. May versus April. Yeah, okay. I'm a dummy. Cutoff dot date. Cutoff dot date. Count 1118. The count can't be the same though. That doesn't make any sense. Cutoff dot date. Okay, maybe it was using this variable still for some reason. That's the only thing I can imagine. Ah, no, not what I want to do. Hopefully that's a safe operation. Cutoff date is not defined. Yeah, where is it using cutoff date? Ooh, is it hard-coded in here? Oh, it is. It is. All right. We go here. We go here. And now, yes. Okay. So last 12 months. Okay, so this is not correct. Oh no, wait, it is correct because we're only keeping the last 30 days, so we're just deleting more. And if we're keeping the last 12 months, we're deleting much less. Okay. So, all right. So, we should be able to then do this. So, we'll do this dot map label size count, and it's going to return a string, and the string is going to be keep label free free, and it's going to be count slash the format of size, basically, right? So if we do this, oh, because I pressed the full screen button right next to it. Okay, fair enough. Do this, keep last 30 days free, free keep a rip. Maybe we'll put the count in brackets, replace free KIB, that number of replays. So, boom, replay slave load, free space, keep last 30 days free, keep last 12 months free, 1 to 10 replays. And then we can say, can I use this format for like delete everything? So if I say just new date, and I say keep nothing. If I add that in, does that just work? Maybe. Oh, nope. Keep nothing. Free 0 kilobytes. Oh. Oh, it's the opposite, right? It's ahead of that date. So we'll just say new date 0, basically, right? Keep nothing free. No, wait. If I say new date 0, it's a very old date. And I think that's when we get that error condition where find predate returns null, right? So we should have cutoff count -1 size 0 count -1 IDX. Oh, because IDX comes back as all right, wait a second. So why does the size and range? Yeah, wait a second. This doesn't make sense. Size and range. We're keeping the last 30 days. So we're erasing all of those. No, 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 no. I had it right before. This needs to be like that. Hey guys, hey Poochie. Hey Topes, hey babe. That was right. Or it should be, right? So it's the current date. I think because this never happens, right? So then here we'll just return. Can we, if we return the current item like that? I think that's what we have to do, right? Is it inclusive or exclusive of that item? That's the question I have. It's exclusive of the last item. We kind of want it to be inclusive of... no, we don't necessarily want it to be inclusive of the last item. Index of... Wait a second. So progress data.length is 1200, right? Because we're outputting it here and it says found 1200 replays. So this should get us the last item, and index of that should be 1199. Yes. So count is index plus 1. Because if index is 0, we have count of 1. All right. So you have count of 1. If index is 0, we have a count of 1. Okay. And the size should be equivalent to total size, which it is not, because it's excluding the index element. Geez, my brain. Total size just goes through all of them and calculates that. All right. Calc size in range. Calc size in range. End would, so it excludes end. So we want to include end. And then calc size in range needs to be IDX. No, it would be IDX, right? And then total size would be calc size in range. Oops. So it'll kind of be this. And it'll be 0 progress data.length. Right? No. Progress data.length minus 1. So this should be our total size now. And then nothing should free up all of it. 5146, 1200 replays. Keeping last 30 days will free up this much. Keep last 12 months will free up this much. Keep nothing will free up everything. Okay, so that's one way of doing it, I suppose. And the option that is currently done sort of automatically could then just open this dialog, basically. And then we could have like a keep most, and then we'll just like, all right, we'll just erase a minimum space. Which this mechanism, obviously, this is purely date-based, right? Don't need that anymore. Don't need that anymore. Now, this is not a great way of representing that. But it's a quick and dirty way of doing it, I suppose. I'm trying to think if there's a way of making this more clear. Easier to understand. And not in a list of buttons kind of mechanism, but some other something. Probably maybe this should be a radio thingamajigs. Radio. I forgot how input type radio. We need to link them via something, right? If we do, how would this even look? We would just say, guess we'll do this like that. And then it'll be tag radio. But it'll also need like a label. Or we just turn it to HTML, I suppose. Like if I do something like this, ID is something. What I do? Oh my god, the name would be. We don't actually care, right? And I think we can wrap the label into it, around it. Then we'll have the input. Then we have some text. So this is going to be a string like that. This goes here. We'll do label here. Right. And then here, this will be, let's say, a div. And then this will be a tag, div, and then inner HTML is this. Like that, like that. 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 And then here just dot join. Like that. Right? Oh god. This is so jank. What am I doing wrong here? Oh, because this is just a string. Doesn't need any of that stuff. Hey, okay. It needs more than just a label, right? It kind of needs that whole thing here, basically. And then we'll need to format it with some CSS so it isn't all smooshed. Oh, why are they centered? Why are they all centered? Why? Input. Okay. Oh my god. Oh, because yeah, the styling isn't really for radio here. Okay. And then if we make the whole thingamajig, so ID would be free space, I suppose, or pick free space. Wait, would they all have to have the same ID? No. Wait, how do we link them together? Label, type, radio ID. I'm looking at the MDN example. How are they linked together? It's not with the IDs. UI name, with name, okay. Name, pick free space. ID is label. No, name is pick free space. Now, why do they have ID and value? Okay, they made the ID and the value the same thing, I suppose. Okay. So we'll do that. And ID name pick free space free. So if I do this free space dialog, input type equals radio, and then we'll say display inline with auto. Like if I do this, is that gonna work? Is that gonna fix everything? Yeah, okay. All right. All right. Okay. And then instead of having these buttons down here, delete, replay, replace. We'll deliberately say delete here so people don't think that, oh, free space is magic and there's no cost associated with it. No, you've got to delete some replace, right? But this shouldn't be the default one. So how do I radio checked? Oh, because they're all set to checked. So if I get rid of checked, that would force somebody to have to pick one, right? So if I do this and I say delete replace, okay. And I do this and say delete replace, okay. And then I can actually handle the button. So I can say delete last 30 days, delete last 12 months. All right. I kind of like where this is going. So step one, complete this dialogue. Step two, and we probably want to do this in the order of like keep last 12 months first, then keep 30 days, and then keep nothing. And then we probably could replace the auto free space with that, or the auto free space button could link to this dialogue, like as optionally, right? And then the second step would be to update this dialog to, I think it already handles the drop thingamajig. Like we're detecting the zip file, right? And then we're doing, where did we do this? Handle window drop, drag over, drag leave, dialog button, handle load from file. Get drop files, handle load from file. Yeah, because then it should actually handle this as well, right? So if okay, and then restore progress backup, I don't think it goes all the way yet. It doesn't actually do the thing, right? But it means we could we can potentially but it doesn't show us zip files here. So the load file button, where is it? Load file, accept dot replay dot json and dot zip. So if I do this, right, and then go here and go here, replay save load file. Now it shows the zip files. I can click on this, open, and it does that. Okay, so we would have to add. All right, let's add some to-do comments here because Knowing myself, I'll look at this in a week and I will have no clue. So, here we go. So console.error not implemented. Then here to do show user info and give options to restore override /etc, right? And then here to do show user not implemented, to do actually delete replays, and perhaps use this for auto free. All right, I think I'm gonna call it here. My brain isn't working super well right now. I've had a long year, but long weeks, a lot of stuff I'm dealing with. And I still have some things to do this evening, unfortunately. So I better get to it. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Really appreciate, Keith, you stopping by and saying hi, as always. And anybody else who's lurking, please say hi in the chat from time to time. It was vibrating. What's going on? All right. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Take care. Have a good rest of your weekend. And